Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Got picked up a couple of new subscribers in the past couple of days, so thank you for those people who are newly subscribed, and for those people who continue to come back and watch my videos. I really appreciate it. I'm not really sure what we're tying today, but I do have some moose mane, some chenille, some rooster saddle. So I don't know. We're gonna see. I have an idea that I want to do something like a little. We have an 1/8 ounce ball head in the vise, and I have an idea that I want to do a little bit of like a buggy kind of, just something to slowly drag along the bottom, kind of a thing. So yeah, so we'll see what we come up with. Stick around. All right. So as per usual, just lay in the thread base here, which is just black flat wax 210, and we'll just get started with that. Give that a snip. And I think what we're going to do, I think we're going to tie in some of these smaller rooster saddles and go from there. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so I'm just going to do 2 of these little feathers on each side, curved inward. And we'll just tie those in. And we'll go down the body with those. And come back up. And now we'll do the other 2. And repeat the process. Snip. All right, so we got kind of the tail, I guess. It needed something to be there, so figured why not put in a bit of a tail. Let's just throw some chenille on there for the body. And then I think we'll just do the moose mane around the collar, and I'm expecting the moose mane. I've tied once with the moose mane. I bought it a very long time ago when I first was getting into jig tying, not really knowing what I would ever do with it or what it was for. I just thought it was cool. And so from my very limited experience tying with moose mane, it kind of when you cinch it tight, it flares out, I guess, similar to what deer body hair would do. But I think it's very much more bristly. So there's not going to be, I don't believe at least, there would be a lot of action to it. It would just be maybe just more for, just again, filling out that body, giving some of those, the hairs that are going to be poking out. So kind of like that buggy kind of look. And so I'll make that mainly for the collar, I think. And maybe that will also help the jig stand up a little bit as well. But we're just going to tie in the chenille right now. But yeah, just going to do this a few wraps. So this again obviously doesn't give it any action, but it'll give it a bit of sparkle, so it'll a bit more visibility in the water. And yeah. You can't really have a buggy looking jig without some chenille, right? And we'll just give that a wrap on top of here again, and then we'll tie that off. And give that a snip. So I'm just totally freestyling this. Haven't tied this before. Don't know exactly what it's going to look like. It might be ridiculous, but that's okay. That's part of the fun. That's, for me, part of the fun of jig tying is just exploring and trying new stuff and figuring out what might work and what doesn't work and what different materials are for. And yeah, I like that part of it, and see what the function is and the practicality of actually making this a useful fishing jig. All right, so when I'm tying this in, I'm not going to tie, so I'm going to sort of put the thread in the middle. Well, you'll see here in a minute. And so it doesn't, for me, it doesn't matter if these aren't straight or whatever, because it's all going to be flared out, and then I can always go and snip them afterwards. So I'll just give that a few wraps like that initially. I'm not gonna cinch everything tight quite yet, because I got to go all the way around here. I'm trying to get some of the darker pieces, so it's kind of a brownish, but there's a lot of white in here too. But yeah, we'll see how this goes here. And this will kind of just be the underneath part. Just give it a couple of loose wraps. All right, and then maybe now I'll give it, yeah, and you see how that just kind of flares out, which is really cool. And then you kind of just work your thread around like that. Don't know if I need to add, I mean, it kind of gives you full coverage, but make sure these are all. If I need to add a bit more, maybe a little bit on the sides here. I don't really know how full I want this. I mean, I think once I give it a bit of a trim, not too much of a trim, but a little bit at least. So yeah, I think you can really like stack this and really make it full and thick. But maybe I'll just add a little bit more on each side here and see what that looks like. Again, just experimenting. See what works. See what doesn't work. Yeah. Okay. And then I'll add a little bit more on this side, and then I think we might be good. I'll give it a bit of a trim, and we'll call it a day. And then we'll throw it in the tank and see what it's going to actually do. I don't anticipate, like I said, I don't anticipate it to do much. This will just be, I think, a very shallow water. Just slowly drag it on the bottom, sort of it's only an 1/8 ounce, so it's more of a finesse-y sort of approach, I guess. But all right, and then I'll just give this a few more wraps and then I'm gonna see if I can't. No, I don't even need to bring that up. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna whip finish it first, and then I'm gonna trim it. All right. I just gave it a whip finish. Didn't really record that because I figured that's kind of boring. And we're just gonna give her a little trim here. I'm gonna leave some of these longer pieces here that are more towards the back, but I'm gonna trim some of these other ones here. And yeah, it doesn't need to look neat and pretty. That's certainly not what this jig is going to be about. It's just supposed to give that a bit of that spiky kind of look, and All right, so I've given her a nice little haircut there. So this is what it looks like, sort of head on, and then this is sort of what it looks like from the underside, like that. I'll put it back in the vise here just for a second, just to talk. So one thing I did want to do, so if I would do this jig again, I think I did use a bit too much moose mane. What I wanted to do, because I was like, there's no point in using the chenille if you can't see it. I mean, other than I guess body, but so I trimmed back a lot of the stuff here quite a bit, and then also because of the amount I used, it was quite thick here, and so thinking about hook penetration, Obviously wanting to make sure that this is thinned out a bit so that if a fish actually does bite this, that they're able to get it down and still get the point of the hook in there. So that's just something to think about if you ever make something similar or whatever. But then another thing, as I was giving this guy a haircut, is I'm wondering, because this moose mane is quite bristly. I mean, you could probably make a brush out of it at times. Just wondering if this would actually be a bit of a sort of a natural weed guard against grass and smaller weeds or whatever. I wonder how effective that would be. But anyways, yeah, this is what it looks like, and I'm anticipating this will probably stand more or less, straight up in the water if I want it to. And yeah, we're gonna put it in the test tank and see what it looks like. All right, well, we got our guy tied on here, and we're gonna drop him in the tank and see what it looks like. So yes, as anticipated, not much action going down, but yeah, that moose mane will help that jig just stand straight up. You can see the chenille comes through really nice, and of course that tail does give it a little bit of action. So almost in the same sense as, you could almost fish this in the same areas where you might fish a Ned rig, something like that. So basically just another replacement of a Ned rig. Yeah, might be interesting. I don't know. It looks a little funny, but hey, it'll probably work. Anyways, that's my experimenting with moose mane for today. I think this thing needs a better haircut. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Take care.